Hey everyone, welcome to Download Podcast, episode 92. This week we're going to give our review of Fallout, the TV show, and also discuss a topic about developers and creators wanting tips for the games and things they make. So we hope you enjoy. Let's get into it, guys. Um,
All
Fallout
right.
was amazing. It is the best adapted form of video from video game ever made. I'm sorry, Mario. Sorry, Sonic. You all been dethroned.
Oh, come on. Keanu Reeves is going to play Shadow in
Well, we haven't
Sonic
got to
3.
that one
You
yet.
can't do
We haven't
that.
got to
That
that
will
one
be
yet.
the
Yeah, we haven't
best.
got
Yeah,
that
we're
one
not
yet.
there yet.
Can't wait for him to do the bullet thing in
It
that. You
could
know
be
they're going to
linked.
have to do
Well,
that.
technically, Shadow would be shooting the bullets at Sonic, right? Because Shadow
Yeah,
wields guns.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
But they're going to have him fight the military or something because he's the big
yeah.
bad dude.
And
yeah.
Shadow,
So
and the reason why Shadow's after him is because Sonic kicked his dog.
That's right.
Go back to that old joke. Anyway,
You kicked my. Never mind.
I'll let Dad or David go first as far as like your thoughts.
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Sorry,
Colin's still the
folks. I
one
haven't
man
been
out.
able to watch it yet. My life has exploded.
I was going to go.
You can
Colin, you go
see.
first. Tell us what you think.
What do I think? I think I want to watch it. I think I've liked everything I've seen in the trailers. Everything I've heard sounds fantastic. And when my fat ass can finally sit down in a seat and watch it, I will binge watch it. Absolutely, with a big bag of popcorn. And I will. I guarantee you, I will love it. But I'm going to be getting, just like you guys, I'm going to be getting the spoilers and do not care because I will still watch it because all that'll do is give me a little more information about what's going on so that I won't miss anything. Back to you.
Oh, am I the one who's kicking it off?
Well, go for it.
It sounded like you just said babe, so I wasn't going to
Yes,
answer to that.
I said,
I
all
think
right,
he
back
said
to you,
David.
Dave.
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 What am I,
Okay.
weather
Dave's
Dave.
not
report
here,
behind me?
man.
Yeah. So, no, I thought it was really good. I guess y'all, more or less binged it all at one time. I kind of broke it up a little bit. I only caught the first episode on Wednesday, and I was a little worried because I didn't know how I was gonna feel about I can't. I'm not going to try and remember everybody's names because I've got too much other stuff rolling around my brain. So we'll go Vault Girl, Brotherhood Boy, and the Ghoul, right? So I didn't know how I was going to feel about Vault Girl and the Brotherhood Boy. I just like that first episode, especially Vault Girl, because it was like that kind of, you know, whimsical fish out of water, but really a highly, idealistic that can play very weird sometimes, but I really thought they nailed it, right? As it progressed along, her character arc was great, right? It was this constant push and pull of her trying to hold on to her values while at the same time grappling with all the insanity and the backstabbing and everything that was going on that she was facing in the wasteland. That was great. Uh the best part of the show for me is easily Walton Goggins as the ghoul, but that's because I love Walton Goggins, from Justified through, Django and Vice Principals, and just you put Walton Goggins in anything, and I'm
Hateful Eight.
immediately
Hateful Eight. Was it Hateful Eight? Yeah.
wait, no, was he in Hateful Eight? Well, I haven't seen Hateful Eight,
I'm
He's
reviewing it
so
now.
he was the one who was being arrested or transported. He was the bad guy in it.
okay. I just said all I knew was that he was in Django, so it doesn't surprise me that he
He's
would
in
show up in.
He
everything.
was in Sons of Anarchy.
He's in everything that what's his name does.
Tarantino.
Tarantino, yeah, he made his career for him.
Okay, let me interject here. Who is Kyle McLaughlin playing in this?
The
Is he,
guy from Twin Peaks,
yeah.
Yeah.
the FBI agent, he just got frozen and woke up.
He's playing an overseer.
Yeah.
He's playing
Okay.
the overseer of the Vault, Vault Girl's dad. So,
Yeah.
the
Vault
setup,
33.
yeah, the
Yeah, I
setup for
think
this is classic Fallout, right? Or classic Bethesda Fallout, I guess we should say, where family member gets, taken out of the
Taken.
vault for
Yep.
shenanigans, and person has to go out to the wasteland to go hunt them down, right? That's the just basic premise of why she goes out into the wasteland.
Okay.
So,
she
Good.
goes out to rescue her daddy. And what does he do? Well, David just described that.
But
All right.
I,
He's
the
one of my
one,
favorite actors, and that's another plus for me.
Yeah,
well,
he's,
you don't get you get him
you
a
don't get
lot
a
in
whole lot
episode
of him.
1, and you get him a lot in the very end, and in
Yeah.
between, he ain't there. But it's fine, right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Does not matter.
he when he's there, he's great, right?
Oh,
When
So
he's there, he's
before
great. That's all
David
that
drives
matters.
me nuts, isn't Vault Girl Lisa?
No,
Isn't
I
that
think
her
it was
name?
Lucy, right?
Lucy McLean,
Lucy.
which
Yeah,
I made
McLean.
this
Yeah,
joke
we already
already with
talked
you,
about
Dad.
that
Is the
because the
fact that
names
she's
are
yeah. Lucy
the
McLean is
children
also
from
John McClane's daughter.
John McCain's daughter.
Yeah. So it was like
And
this
then
was the
Maximus is
Die Hard Fallout.
suit boy,
Yeah, the Brotherhood boy.
the Brotherhood boy, the Brotherhood dude.
Yeah,
Just
that-
go Google it, people. You'll figure it out.
right. And honestly, I think the weakest, the Brotherhood boy started off kind of. I wasn't sure about him. He got better. I think his character and his arc and everything will. That's the part that I'm looking forward to the most in season 2. I'm hoping that with how he grew in this season, that we see more of what's going on with this chapter of the Brotherhood. Because like just from what I'm not some deep Fallout lorist, right? But from what little I know, there's a lot that I'm curious about. Because like the Brotherhood they don't act this way, or
No.
they don't bring in outsiders, right? So we've got and the West Coast Brotherhood had nearly been wiped out.
Yes.
So how they're all of a sudden this huge superpower with
Well,
an airship and
They're
all the
not
rest of it?
really
no, but
superpower.
this is the Brotherhood from Fallout 4.
No, it's not. The
You
Brotherhood
sure?
in Fallout 4 was in the East Coast. That was Boston. That was the East Coast Brotherhood under Mason.
Right.
And so they were the ones that combined the Lions chapter back in with the Outcasts.
right. Okay.
But it's also been like what?
It's only been
19
9 years,
years.
I think.
9
9
years.
years from
9
4.
Well, 9
I
years.
thought it
from
was
4.
19 years
From 3.
No, that's from Vegas.
from 3, from the third one. Yeah.
So it's I mean, there's been enough years past that it's possible that the Brotherhood that was on the East Coast traveled back across the states and made it back over to the West Coast to kind of reinforce them, right? And that's where I'm curious. There's the one faction in this show that I have the most questions about is the Brotherhood, just because, again, because I think that in some of the stuff they talked about, the airship you're seeing is not the Pridwin,
Yeah.
right? It's
That's
not the
what I
one that
thought
we
it
saw in
was.
4. It's some other one that starts with a C. I forget what it's called. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the Brotherhood in this. Like all of their names are Roman, which is more
Which
of a
is-
Legion thing.
Which reminds me of the Legion. So I wonder.
Yeah. So and because we don't know what the canon ending of Vegas is, right? Which is what we'll probably be getting in season 2.
Mhm.
We will
Part
at
of
least
it.
get an idea of how, New Vegas officially ends.
Mhm.
Did the Brotherhood, because they were getting so low on people and the NCR was becoming so powerful, did they go out and absorb members of the Legion, right? And start to kind of take on some of their practices? I don't know. That's again of all the groups, the one that got the littlest amount of kind of build up, but the one I'm the most curious about from the show is the Brotherhood by far.
Well,
Well, here's
the Enclave
Go
was
ahead.
mentioned.
Well, we saw
yes,
the
it
Enclave.
was.
Like we actually saw that because that's where what's his face, the creepy dude from Lost came
Yeah.
from, right? With
Michael
dog
Emerson.
meat,
Yeah.
right? He is an Enclave member, so you see one of their facilities, and that's another thing. How is the Enclave still like
around?
They had a
Because-
whole facility
Right.
on the West Coast that's still running. Man, I thought the Brotherhood almost wiped them out to all the way down, and then with the NCR, I thought I know that I've seen a lot of people complaining about how Bethesda has kind of, they're rewriting history so that they can just rewrite the same story again, right? It's
Yeah.
we're dealing with Vault Dwellers again, and we're dealing with the Brotherhood, and we're dealing with the Enclave, and the NCR is kind of, barely in the picture, right? And I get it, and so I'm kind of hoping that in season 2, with them going to Vegas, we see more than just the classic,
Well,
couple of groups.
if they do the whole thing where they do what Mr. House's ending, or the where you shut him down for the NCR, and we know they had a place in New Vegas.
Yeah,
So I mean, you could think that maybe they set up shop in
New Vegas?
Yeah,
after
so they're in
after
Nevada.
the destruction of Sands.
Hmm.
Yeah, And that's why I like I said, I really, really like the season. They nailed a lot, like the slow burn of seeing what Vault Tech was up to inside the vaults. Man, that was like classic going through the games, right? As
Yep.
you're like going through the vaults and going and interacting with all the terminals and reading like all the logs and seeing the slow decay and fall into insanity of the people dealing with
From each
with
vault.
whatever
Yeah.
vault experiment that they were dealing with. Like that was great, right? There was a lot of little things that they nailed down so well in the show that just made you feel, you felt like you were watching yourself playing the game in some ways, but then it was its own story. And and that's another great thing, right? It's not like they went back and are trying to tell a story within the time frame of one of the games. It's like what we talk about all the time. Hey, look, they grabbed another slice in time. They're telling completely different character stories and they're building this world. And that's what we want to see, right? Like the wife was asking me what I thought of the hints of Vault Tech's involvement in some of the pre-war stuff, right? And I was telling her, I was like, look, as long like you can throw your breadcrumbs on the water as much as you want, never answer that question completely, right? You can build up all this cool conspiracy and then
Yep.
just at a certain point stop. And that's great and that's fantastic. And I love that world building. I love again, the conspiracy mindedness because that's what you need, right? In terms of what was going on with the pre-war, you would have all that going on, and that's a really cool detail to fold into this mythology. And so, yeah, man, it was really great. I really enjoyed it. Outside of, a handful of nitpicky things that don't even really matter in the grand scheme of things, I'm really curious what they're going to do with the next season. I'm really curious to see how Vegas is going to look, right? What they're going to show us in there, and I really look forward to seeing them expand and grow from what they've built here and see where they go with it. And hopefully they don't screw it up like Westworld.
So it sounds like they tick several of the boxes that you've mentioned before in the past, where if you're going to have a series based upon a game series or a TV series, start their own thing and build into that universe, right?
Yeah, it just makes it more interesting, right? Like The Last of Us was cool, The Last of Us was good and all that, but it was retreading the same story that we've seen before, and the stuff they added to it, some of it worked, some of it was weird, some of it was just kind of different for the sake of being different. Uh, at the end of the day, it was fine, but I'm not as excited to see them do, I mean, outside of the fact that it's The Last of Us 2, but even if I love The Last of Us 2, if all it was, hey, we're just going to recreate the same story, but on a smaller screen with a few changes, I'm less excited to see that than I am to see a brand new story being told and seeing what they do with the property and how they grow it and how, because I mean, that's the fun of games, of books, of movies, of all these different things, is seeing the world grow, seeing new characters interacting with and new facets of things and just introducing cool new concepts and ideas. Like that's why we come to stories, right? Is cool concepts and ideas and characters. And if you can deliver on even two of those things, I'm on board to hang out with you and see where you go. And so I'm excited to see what direction they take it.
Nice.
Dad.
All right. Where do I, man? There were so many things I wanted to say with David, but I wanted him to go ahead and say his piece. First off, there's a difference between a series that is trying to do something within canon and something that is trying to do a remake or retelling. Last of Us was a retelling of a story. They made too many changes. It took me out of the series. I wasn't as excited as I was with Fallout. Have to also compare it to Halo. And Halo just was trying to be in game, in story, whatever you want to say it, but it went off into this total different area, whole political and all that other stuff. And Master Chief took off his mask. It was all this other crud. And I was like, it was not Halo. Just like the Lord of the Rings was a failure, just like what was the other one that came out?
The Willow series.
The Willow, none of that stuff actually succeeded. This is the first time we've actually seen something succeed in what they attempted to do. They kept their rules. When you world build, you have to have certain rules and you have to stick to them and not change it because, oh, this looks cool. We're going to bend it a little bit. You stay within that, but then you tell your story in there. And so we're getting a story that falls in different places within the game universe. They also understood the characters. They understood what it was that brought their people to play those games over and over and over again. Now, as far as characters, after episode 3, when Lucy did not learn and kept having people get hurt because of her dumb butt stuff, I was like, somebody shoot her. Let them friggin', where are the roaches? Where's the spider? Something get her. But no, and in the end, I'm glad she stuck around because I liked her at the end more than I liked her at the beginning. Maximus I loved because there was something about that storytelling, and he didn't want to be there. And you watched him go from, I want to be a soldier, I want to wear that armor, I want a normal life. I don't need any of this. So he grew. And what happens to Maximus at the end? He is now so cemented in the Brotherhood because he's the hero. He can't escape, and he's going to have to live up to a certain
that expectation and
expectation and not want it. He's going to be wanting to escape, and he's going to try to help Lucy. He's going to try to protect all those people he met after, while maintaining his role, because he'll probably end up being second in command of this version of the Brotherhood. And granted, you remember, so much time has passed. They were sending out their knights to hunt down friggin' toasters. What kind of technology searching is that? So they were willing to sacrifice their soldiers, their primo people, just to bring back garbage. So at some point they were desperate and needed to find things, anything. They were hoping you'd find something that would boost their technology and bring it back to them. And they were willing to send their people out as cannon fodder for it. I love the cameos of people in this series that I did not expect to see. They were just fantastic, and I want to see some of them come back. Some of them didn't make it, but Cooper was my favorite character, followed up by Maximus and then Lucy.
And Norm was one of your other ones you were bragging about.
I'm trying to remember which. Oh, Norm. Yeah, I was getting to him. The one that really attracted me the most was the brother, who was figuring everything out in the vault. He went from being this Weasley little dude who didn't want to do anything, just want to sit here and play games. I'm disconnected from everything, to wanting to figure out what was going on. And I'm hoping that one of two things are going to happen with him. Either he's going to freeze himself to survive, and then somebody within the 3 vaults is going to come and look for him and help him escape, or he's going to be a character in some future game that they're planning, and we're just going to see him disappear, and you won't see him until all of a sudden they announce a game and he'll be in it. I doubt that. I honestly believe that his friend, the big muscular dude who hooked up with the crazy-eyed, one-eyed Cyclops lady, something's going to happen in that vault too. There's something there that makes it where nothing can survive. He's going to panic. He's going to go looking for him. He's going to probably end up in there and find him, and he'll be the one who rescue him. That's where I think it's going to go. I'm looking forward to seeing the Vegas, and how all that's going to play in. I binged the first 5 episodes the first night. I could not stop watching it, and then I passed out towards the end of the 5th episode, and I was like, okay, I can't. Got up the next morning and rewatched 5 just to refresh it in my mind, and then I finished watching it, and then I was like, man, I'm ready to watch this again. I'm ready. Why did it end at 8? If they had gone 10 episodes, it would have been so much better. I mean, they could have fleshed out things a little bit more instead, because there at the end, it seemed rushed. Like they were, oh, we have this inning we got to get to. We only have so many more episodes. Let's hurry up and get there. So it could have benefited from a couple extra episodes to flesh out the story. I would have liked to have seen more of what was the doctor's name at the beginning, the one who ended up being the head from all the other episodes.
Oh,
Young-
Michael Emerson's character. Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember what his name was? I don't remember.
No, I don't remember what his name was. He's all. I just remember the whole thing of like him going, "All right, I took a cyanide capsule. You're just gonna take me there. What do you mean? I'm gonna
Out of the
die?"
blue,
And
out of
then
the blue,
it's just like, no, you're gonna take my head. And he
out of the blue, he suffered through getting his foot blown off, and then that torture device of a artificial
the leg. Yeah.
leg, man, that is like a meat grinder on one end and an artificial foot on the other. I was like, whoa. And then, you can see he's bleeding from it still. Why they didn't give him a stem to help him heal and heal inside the thing, I don't know. Well, now we did because he wasn't going to make it. And sorry if there's spoilers, but they ended him. Like they're walking through the wastelands, and all of a sudden he comes up and he's like, "Oh, I took cyanide. It's no problem. It's going to be smooth. I took one of the ones that we've perfected." And I was like, "What? And then he goes, "Here, pull out." She pulls out the chainsaw knife. And he goes, "Oh, I'm going to make the journey." What? Yeah, my head's going to make the journey. Okay, suddenly it became a duffel bag head movie.
Well, that was what was hilarious, was the fact that like the passage of time of how his head decayed, and at one point he had blonde hair. I'm like, where did this come from?
It was
And then
like
it
the
went
head
back-
kept changing.
Yeah.
And then the dog. I love the
Dog
the dog being in the man. He was one of my other favorite characters, and I'm just hoping he has a bigger role other than being stuck inside of a Coke machine for a couple of episodes.
And then
then
I did like, so of all the little touches that I liked, I think the best one was like, someone gets shot, right? Like blasted, they're like just gushing blood out of something, and then they just take a stim pack,
Yeah, they
shove
stim,
it in them,
and it's
and
like
they're good.
and you're
I
healed.
was like,
You're
good.
yes. I was like, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. That's the game. Thank you. It's none of this. We got to wrap bandages around it or anything.
Well,
No, stim pack and you're good.
the rat away, like whenever they first dig up the ghoul and stuff, and it's like he's got the bags hanging on the cross.
Oh,
and
keeping
well,
him. Yeah, the one that was
So
keeping him alive.
I was about to say, is that I don't think that's Rataway, right? It's whatever that drug is that the
right.
ghouls have.
Well, it
I don't
looks
know.
like it looks like Jet, because remember there's stuff in the game about how like
Yeah.
the ghouls use Jet and stuff. But this is
Yeah.
the first time they've established that there's a cure for the
Well, it's not a cure. It's a continual like addiction that the ghouls need to, I guess, because they are just a concoction of like drugs and radiation and nonsense that they have to perpetually take it to keep themselves like sane.
right. And
That's a small dose, small shot in a big.
That's a small drop in a otherwise big bucket of drugs.
Man, I was dying. I love that line. Man, that is so great.
But the whole thing too is like, because we know that what turns them technically feral was high doses of radiation. It wasn't the fact that they were slowly becoming these creatures that,
But I think he's different in a way. We know that in the game that they became that way because of the radiation that they received during the
overexposure of the radiation.
Overexposure radiation. And possibly some of the medicine that they were taking to try to treat that radiation caused that to happen. And when there was also, is that the same medication they take in the aerosol form?
Well, the aerosol form normally is Jet.
Okay, and because that's what he was taking to maintain himself. And then when we saw his friend in that one area, all his bottles are gone.
Yeah.
All right. And then when we see those again is when they're in that that research it, not the hospital, because
The
that's
super
the
duper
other.
mart.
The super duper. And he's like binging, just taking it off and drinking massive
everything.
quantities of
Right.
that.
Well, because I
Um,
mean, if it is making it to where he's losing his mind and stuff like that, he's got to offset whatever's going on with the drugs and alcohol and whatever he was ingesting. But like another thing too that I was telling Dad
and we
about,
don't.
like I don't believe that whenever hold on. All right, Colin's having issues. Um like when Thaddeus, his foot's all messed up and he goes to that one dude and gets the drug. I don't think he got something that's turning him into a ghoul. I think he's turning into
Yeah,
a super mutant.
you said they thought he
I think
was
he's going to
turning
turn into a
into
super mutant.
a mutant, and I was like, well, and this is what I started. I was like asking Vince. I was like, he healed,
Right.
so why is the ghoul not healing? If
He
he's
did though.
taking the same
Well,
medicine,
the
though, his
ghouls
He
nose
got
isn't.
he got shot in
no,
the
no, no,
shoulder
no.
and it
You
didn't do
can't
anything to
change
him.
the features of your ghoulness, but you can
Oh,
heal
Well,
your
it
okay.
changed
Damage
his
and stuff.
foot. It changed his foot. It
right, and that's
regrew
where
that
Rebuilt
foot
his
because
foot.
completely.
that's because what the stuff that they were doing the research to create the super mutants. So
Okay.
this is he's changing into. I mean, that's what I think is going on. He's going to be turning into a super mutant
And
because we
then when
kind of introduced him eventually into the show, and we know that at one point they were thought to be destroyed, and then they ended up moving out more west or more east and started showing up. Like they were in Washington D.C., they were in
Well, so there's
Philly.
different breeds. There's different breeds of them, right? So
Yeah,
the ones on the West Coast are the ones that were bred with the what was it called? The FEV,
FEV. Yeah,
right? And that was by the master, right? Because that the master developed all that and created his giant army of super mutants, and that's what was roaming around on the West Coast. On the East Coast, you had an entire vault that was dedicated to
correct. And they were
churning
trying
out
to
super mutants.
and they were originally trying to create like some cure for radiation sickness, and
Yeah, I actually think I need to go back and listen because whenever they're in the episode where it's Vault Tech having the meeting with all those other companies and they
yeah,
start talking about all the different experiments that they want to do in the vaults, which was a great little nod to the
the
games, right?
games.
Because you
Yeah.
listen to them and you're like, you can almost think to yourself, I know what vault that is.
Well, and
I know
then the
what vault that is, right?
organization
Exactly what that
headings
is.
on the organization
Well,
headings
yeah.
were from
So
different areas of
we
the
saw
game.
Mr. House. We saw
Yes,
Mr. House,
which
right?
was
The
fantastic.
head of Robco
Robco
is
is
Mr.
Mr. House.
House,
Yeah.
which is
Dude, he was
great.
that actor who played him was perfect, man.
Yeah.
Man, that was one of my highlights of the whole series. Is seeing Mr.
Yeah, but
House.
I'm kind of curious to go back and listen to that because if I remember right, the whole experiment for that created the super mutants was they were trying to develop some means to make people resistant to radioactivity, right? So that within the fallout they could go out into the wasteland
The
and
Wastelands, yeah.
survive and not have to deal with the radiation. And some side effect of trying to do that is what created the super mutants, right? It's like Vault 87 or something like that. And so yeah, you have like all these weird different breeds of super mutants, one for the East Coast and one for the West Coast. And I'm curious who that guy is, right? Like, is it just some generic random ghoul or he's not even a ghoul, he's just some weirdo who apparently likes to have relations with chickens.
Oh,
Um,
the doctor, the one who
yeah, the
keeps telling
doctor.
everybody he's a doctor.
I'm kind of curious, like what he is, right? Because like the fact that he just threw together some concoction and gave it to this
I don't
guy,
think he just
and
threw it together. I think he knew what he was doing, and he might be out in the wasteland experimenting
yeah,
because he gave it away when the guy was like he was talking to him, and he says something, and he goes, "Well, it's not going to matter to you anyway, is it?"
yeah,
And that said that he knew what was going on, that he was not healed, he was not given, the stem, that he had gotten something else, and he always seemed to show up in the places where the main characters were going. So that's not
yeah,
accidental.
because he was in Philly whenever they were leaving, right?
Yeah.
And he saw the person with the yeah, it was what busted foot, right? The first time
Yep.
around. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When the the Enclave doctor whenever he was leaving. That's another interesting thing that they brought up that I guess made me curious is the Enclave has access to Vault tech info because he knew about the vaults, right? He knew about the vaults. He knew about the experiments. He knew the
He knew an
overseer. He knew
awful
all this
lot
stuff.
about
He knew a
everything.
lot of stuff. So it's like, man, I'm again, man. It was like what got brought up in the Discord, right, where people were talking about it, and it's like, I've got a lot of questions for this show, but all of them are good questions, right? All of them are interesting questions. All of them are things that I legitimately want to know, and it's not like I'm sitting here going, why did they decide to do this, and why did
That's
they decide to do
exactly
that?
the
And
thing.
this is so
Right.
stupid. And it's like, no, I'm actually like,
Engaged.
I want an answer. Yes, I'm engaged in this.
Mhm.
I want to know what they're thinking, where this is going, you know, what what their explanation is. It's like all the people that started freaking out about the destruction of Shady Sands, right? And it's like, no, I think everybody misunderstood it, right? The fall of Shady Sands wasn't the destruction of Shady Sands.
Right.
It was something occurred. Either it was, someone got elected or, some political thing happened or they started allowing certain groups of people or maybe it was just they realized they were spread out too far because of various, fights and things they were in. But something happened in that year that looking back, people say, hey, this was the beginning of our end. And then at some point within that, right, is when the bomb goes off. So
Well, if you watch
I would
if you watch the stuff on the television that's going on in the background, you hear, and this is in Shady Sands, they're talking about
we can't
not
be
going
in
to
Shady
war.
Sands
They're
because they're
talking
gone.
Well, no,
about
Shady Sands didn't exist in the regular time.
wherever Coop was living after the first bomb
Right,
drop.
but that wasn't Shady Sands. All
I
the
thought I could have
cities-
swore that's what they were talking about.
No, all cities are all before the war, as far as 2077, are normal American cities. There's nothing
Yeah.
new.
Shady
And then there
Sands, Shady
was
Sands is created by the NCR post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
Right? They developed that
right. It
town.
was a city that was created after the first apocalypse.
Right, no, but there's no second apocalypse. They were just a bomb that went
Yeah.
off.
No,
So
that okay, but that is when I say second apocalypse, they blew up that area's final last ditch effort of society for some reason.
No,
And it looked
it's
like there was okay, so let me clear this up.
yeah, go.
Was there a war when Coop is with his daughter, but after he left his wife, because he had already been away from his
no.
wife?
So
So-
that's different. That's what I was saying. That there was a resource war between the U.S. and China.
In China.
And the thing
That
is
was
that
the
when
one
they're
he
talking
fought in the war.
right, and that war that most people talk about, especially for his age when he was at, would have been in Anchorage, Alaska.
Right.
Right. Now, okay, now that we've said that, he is a hero movie actor after that war.
Correct.
Correct.
But
And
that
at
they
some
didn't-
point he
that
figures
didn't
out his
end in-
wife is working for Vaultec and he leaves her. I don't know
Well,
if that's
Well, we
don't-
don't know, right?
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
We assume.
We're
but if you
assuming
listen
it.
to what his daughter says during the first episode about missing mommy and mommy not being
Yeah.
around, they're
Yeah.
separated. Okay.
And I agree. It's
Could be,
definitely
yeah,
it's
yeah.
heavily hinted
And
at that's what's going on.
Okay.
Right.
And then during that time, when they flash back to when they're still together and he becomes the spokesman for Vaultec
Mhm.
and everything happens there, they keep showing different things on the radio. They keep saying things, showing things on television
That's
that talk about a peace treaty
Right.
that where there will not be
So,
any bombs
that's pre the
dropped.
bombs.
That's still
pre the bombs.
bombs.
So the very first scene that we see is leading directly into the overall apocalypse. Every scene that you see after that in pre-war, like pre-Ghoul Cooper, is before that moment with his daughter. So that the bombs going off.
No,
is
I
like
got
is
that.
in the
I
middle,
got that.
right?
But
yeah,
I just couldn't see him. So the war that was with China was won, right?
No, we were going into a peace treaty, and that was the whole thing. The period of time was
So why was Cooper no longer fighting and all his soldier buddies were at home?
because
If the war isn't over and we're still fighting and they're just a peace treaty, why were they still at home and not still fighting in that war? because
after the
everybody he
events-
talks to his friends are all
right,
ex-soldiers.
because the last war, the last thing that was going on in the games was that Battle of Anchorage. And once that was done, they were trying to do the peace treaty, and it took a while. It took years. And the thing is that Vault-Tec, well, we don't know, but we just know that the nukes started flying, and that's what caused the apocalypse.
Well, I think we know why it started flying. The people who at Vault-Tec were playing behind the scenes
Well, yes,
to fulfill their ultimate goal of controlling humanity and the world for good old American capitalism.
Well, so now that Colin's not here, that was the part where, it's always been a question in the Fallout universe of who actually triggered the bombs, right? Who actually started that whole sequence? Was it China shot first? Was it America shot first? Was it some third party? And them hinting at the fact that it's Vault-Tec makes sense, but I don't ever want them to come outright and say and show that yes, it was Vault-Tec that did it. I always want that to remain in mystery. I never want that question answered. It's like Romero's zombies, right? I don't need to know how the zombies started. They exist.
No,
and that's
yeah,
fine,
and I
and that's
get
all that
you on
matters.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I love the fact that they inject that Vault-Tec conspiracy, because you're right, for this ultra capitalist society that they live in, it makes total sense that yes, Vault-Tec would start to try and utilize, their political power and money to manipulate things behind the scenes to eventually lead to that event so that they can maintain control. That's awesome, right? That's great. But and actually, speaking of Coop and his daughter and that whole situation, again, now that Colin, unfortunately, we lost him, that's one of the more interesting storylines that I'm really curious to see come up in future seasons, is because we now have a mirror of what happened to Lucy, right? So into the season, Lucy goes off with the ghoul. Well, how did she get there, right? So, spoiler alert. So I guess hop ahead or whatever. Her family is born in the vault. Her mom leaves, takes her out of the vault. Her dad chases after them, finds them, confronts them, kills the mom, takes the daughter back to the vault, right? Now, with the ghoul, you have the reverse, right? Him and his family, as far as we can tell, were outside the vaults. And then his wife comes and takes his daughter and runs off with her, from what we can tell, right? Is what I'm assuming part of the
That's
story.
kind of what they hinted
now,
at, yes.
And now he's hunting after her. So now Lucy's going to get to experience that moment in her life. Yeah. And I'm curious to see if they're actually building towards that and what that's going to look like. Will she let the ghoul go forward with what I can only assume is a revenge plot, right, against his wife? Or is she going to try and step in and stop it? And what's that going to look like? So, again, it's a cool character setup a cool character dynamic setup that they've kind of. I don't know if that's where they're going with. We could instead have more of a Fallout 4 moment where, his wife is dead, his daughter is grown, and now he has to deal with the fact that his daughter, doesn't is more in line with his mother than him, right?
Hate him,
yeah.
Or they could do the whole thing. Remember, the plot line too was that the kid ended up being like the architect of the
institute.
The institute, where like she became just like her mom.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's what I'm wondering, because it's only been 200 years. So, is her mom, his wife, and his daughter in a vault, or is his daughter in a vault and the wife ended up going, like you were saying, into the vault and out of the vault and prolonging her life? Could she be somebody that we've already seen on screen?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking that. So I'm thinking that if we haven't seen her yet, so this would be how they get the brother out of 31, right? Would be them circling back to that. And it turns out that the ghoul's wife and maybe his daughter are frozen in 31 right now. I don't know if I would want them to go that route, but I think
very Fallout 4.
That's the easy route to take, right? Would be that because his wife was a Vault-Tec exec, and we know that 31 is housing a bunch of high-level Vault-Tec execs, it would make sense that his wife is frozen currently in 31,
inside
or she was released and became one of the overseers for 31 for a time.
Yes.
Don't know.
Yeah.
right?
But I think that the secretary that introduces Coop to McLaughlin's character
Hmm.
is the woman
Betty.
who's
She's
Betty.
overseer.
She's the overseer that we're seeing old and doing her
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how did McCulkin, no, it's not Colleen McCulkin. How do you pronounce his name?
McLean and
M-
the
no,
characters
no,
with me.
that character's
Kyle
name.
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin. I'm looking forward to seeing how he went from being a secondary character to her. I mean, Cooper's wife. Because when we meet him, he's just like somebody who supposedly gets her coffee and gets her all of her stuff, her go-to person, to being a high level person within Vault-Tec. Could it be he betrayed and killed her to get that position? Because I get that feeling that in this, to move up in the corporation, you got to be pretty friggin' cutthroat, and I would not put it beyond him.
Well,
If he killed his wife? I don't think he killed his wife. I think he left her for dead. She wasn't dead. And that she probably met up with what's her name, Moldavia, or whatever her name was, the resistance. And she had already had such a severe dose of radiation that the medicine they gave her eventually turned her into a ghoul. Because from what I can tell is you don't turn into a ghoul after you die. You become a ghoul even though you're living, and you
yes,
eventually
slowly
switch to
you
that.
become a
So if he'd
ghoul,
have killed her, she would never have been the ghoul sitting at the table at the end that she had to kill, that Lucy had to kill.
You're talking about the mom.
The mom, that's right.
Well, remember, if she had survived the high amount of radiation, that would have been how she became a ghoul.
Yeah. So, but we
but
would
as
talk
far
about
as
her father probably killing her to take her daughter, but I don't think he either thought she was dead
correct, he probably
or
did.
something else. Yeah.
And I would say for his character anyway, there's a possibility that he was one of the investors, but as in an investor of like he's excited for this, but doesn't have maybe enough money to have a controlling say in things, but maybe he has a place within the vault as to be sealed away for the events that happen.
And I love the throwaway line where they talk about not all vaults are created equal.
Oh, yeah.
That some of the vaults were designed to be faulty.
Yeah. Well, all of them are experiments. So they're all designed to either fail at a certain point, to cause a certain reaction, to
I was about to say which
chain of
one is
events.
it? Is it Vault? God, I want to say it's in the 20s that there's, or maybe it was 12, that there's one vault that literally the door was manufactured to not close.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
that
so
whenever
everybody-
the nukes
everybody-
went off, everyone got ghoulified
Yeah,
inside the
everybody's
vault.
a ghoul. Yeah, that was yes.
Now, I want to go back to something. When we talked, and I was talking about how Coop and everything in society had kind of moved back. It had
Yes.
technology, but it had rolled back. And you had said that after the original war, when they tried to do everything, that was a purposeful thing to roll back to a more simpler society.
No, it wasn't because of
but
the war. America at a point in the Fallout universe decided as a choice to go back to that 50s style, like American values, like, and all that stuff. Like the technology was designed to be that way. It was a like a choice to go Art Deco all the way through everything.
Well, the reason I say that was because I got to go back and rewatch it, but I think somebody mentions a president, but it was a president from our past. And I was like, so is this an alternate reality of Earth where we had better technology than what people were known to have? And it takes place in that period, and we just have an alternate future for mankind. And that's why when I was asking you the other day about the aliens was because aliens have become a big part of Fallout and their technology. And
Yeah,
at one
'cause-
point, there were different people, different Vault-Tec people, or one other organization that was hunting for their technology.
Technology, yeah. Well,
So maybe that technology is what was found, that
No,
they
'cause
knew
remember,
that there were
you're-
aliens.
remember that you're looking at a game that came out in 1997, and the game, the nukes, the time the nukes went off was what, 80 something years from now or from then. So they
Yeah.
were assuming that technology would have boomed by then. That's why they did the things that they did, was like they set it in a far future. I mean, that's still like what, 40 something years from now?
Well, I mean, to have cold fusion, which we are
53.
just now working on, and be successful with it, and then actually have had it before, because that's kind of what their battery packs are, or cold fusion battery packs. It means that technology was lost at some point,
Well,
and now
that's
they've
one of the
rediscovered it.
that's one of the things I'm curious about. I guess I need to, having never played Fallout 1 or 2, all I really know of are the Bethesda era Fallout games, right? But I could have sworn that the Gek has a cold fusion like generator in it, that's part of the package that you get, right? It's like, you know, what is it? It's like seeds and some means of purifying water, because that's what you do in Fallout 3, right? Is you use that technology plus whatever they had developed to purify all that water in that area. They basically,
Yeah.
you know, sacrifice all the rest of the components to the Gek, focus on only the water purification portion of it, and, you know, explode it to use that single use for it. But I could have sworn that the Gex from the early games, or that it was, I thought I read in maybe one of the logs in 3 somewhere that was talking about the Gex, that it had cold fusion, that it had some cold fusion reactor in it. That's where the end, when they were talking about cold fusion, I was like, well, I thought they already had this, so
Well,
I'm
remember,
not.
it sets it up in the episodes. Remember, she was the designer of Cold Fusion. They
Right.
took it away from her when they acquired her company.
Which would make
But
sense.
that-
Why would them be in the
Yeah.
Gek?
Right. So they have I mean, you think that Vault-Tec has this technology. They just implemented it in their stuff, but it wasn't designed in a way that she was trying to use it for, where it was going to be like Nikola Tesla, making it where electricity comes for the airwaves and everybody has
Yeah.
Everybody was
electricity for free.
endless
But it just kind
power.
of
Yeah.
it just kind of makes me curious why then the Enclave has their hands on it, or maybe it's just the like in what Fallout 1. I think it's Fallout 1 where it's all about them stealing the Gek from the vault that you're in that game, and that's part of the reason why you're leaving out of it, is to go hunt down.
You're
Like,
trying to hunt down a
who stole it?
water chip originally, if I remember correctly.
Was that it?
Yeah.
That might be thinking
Your
of
water
2,
chip
'cause
fails, you go find one, and then I think there's an opportunity where you can go back to save your vault, or you can save this town or something with it. You have like that.
Then maybe I'm thinking of 2, because I could have sworn that there's one Fallout game where, or maybe I'm just thinking of 3, man. I don't know. I keep meaning to want to go back and
Because I
play some,
thought the Vault had it, because it's mentioned that they have kind of a cold fusion generator in there. Because remember,
some of them
he
have arc.
steals one from that other vault,
well, but that's
and
not
they
cold
shut
fusion.
down.
That
Yeah,
fusion
that's not
core is not cold fusion.
Yeah,
Okay,
cold-
that's
It's
what I
just
thought
a
it
fusion
was.
core.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's something different. But that's where I thought, like I said, I thought the Gex were specifically developed with cold fusion so that you could take one, go out and establish a society,
Mhm.
you know, or establish an area like a town, in the apocalypse. Because that's what I thought. Shady Sands and what's the other one? Vault City, I think, is another town that got developed in
I
the
believe so.
wasteland post-war, right? And I could have sworn that they used Gex specifically for both of those, but maybe it just had the regular fusion in it, and Vault-Tec was still whole, or maybe it was a one-time use setup thing, right? And it wasn't this ability to go plug and play into other systems and all the rest of that. So I
Well,
don't know.
he pulled one
It's-
out and put it in his suit, whatever
His
it
neck.
was.
Oh,
No,
you're
no,
talking
no.
about- yeah,
That's because those cores, the fusion cores, the energy cores, are all the same.
All the
Everything
same.
was
So
designed to use that same type of power
That-
generator.
okay.
And there were more generators. They helped them because, like, if you look back down in that area, there are like energy banks. Like, you know,
No, I
there's
saw
all-
that. But he goes, when he's walking, he's looking around, he's looking at the technology. He goes, "Oh, they've got this."
Yes.
that feeds. It's kind of like what they have is, if you've ever watched Forbidden Planet, you have a single core, right? And then
Mhm.
it's connected to amplifiers that amplify it to the 10th power, and then
Right.
amplifies it to the 10th power, and then amplifies it to the. So you need this one core to power it, but then it's amplified to give you all the energy you need. That's why these vaults survive. Um, so that makes sense if that's what he plugged in to the mech to power it. But they needed that one because there were no other replacements for it in that vault, or they would have just put one in. They begged, please save us, we need it back. Hold on, I'm going somewhere with this. This reminds me of the what were the things called in Vash?
Oh, you're talking about the oh,
The
come
ones that
on. The I can't remember what they're called now. I know that
the Trigun in Trigun, the thing that was actually a living creature
yeah.
that every community had one
God,
to
oh,
help
thank
power
you.
it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I can understand that. I've seen this before. I understand that Fallout is just Robert Heinlein, not Heinlein. What's his name's book? Boy and His Dog, Run Spot Run, and the other one. Um, it's not Heinlein. I can't remember.
Something Ellis.
Harlan Ellison.
Harlan Ellis. Yeah,
Harlan's
it's
Or
straight
Ellison.
up those stories. So yeah, we
Well,
talked about that
except they're
before.
not running around trying to collect a man seed, right?
yeah.
No, that's only in the second book, and I'm talking the book, not the movie. You old dirty man. I know what you're talking about. And so the if they found a way to create cold fusion, then and they can set up stations, they could broadcast that energy around the world
Well, right.
and recreate society. And whoever controls that has all the power. So I understand why the different factions are after it. And now it's in the hands of the Brotherhood. But the Brotherhood seems to have this thing where this Brotherhood, they want revenge when somebody F's them. And they are very protective of their suits because they came a long way to find him and get that suit back
Well,
and
they're just
bring him.
protective of technology,
Technology
right?
in
Like that's
general, but
all
And
they
they're
care
so,
about.
but they're zealots. I mean, you know, you have
yeah, they're going to go. What I mean is, they're going to go after Vegas for this. They're going to go in force to try to capture him because he has that suit for no other reason. But in the game, Vegas had a dam, not the
The
Hoover.
Hoover
Was it the
Dam.
Hoover
It
Dam?
was the Hoover
Hoover
Dam.
Dam, yeah.
And it was they found a way to purify that water, right? Because that
No,
was the whole
the
thing
whole
in their society that everybody wanted that water, so they had
No,
guards and
you're
people
mixing
you're
three
protecting
and
it.
New
mixing up
Vegas
you're mixing
together.
it in three together because New Vegas, they wanted the dam because it was a natural energy
Yeah, because
conductor.
that's where they produce all the energy for
Right. And that's
Vegas.
what once because at the end, if you do the NCR ending, you get basically free electricity to all of the Mojave Desert and everything. So but in three, the whole thing was them creating a pure
Project
drinking
Purity.
water. Yeah,
Yeah.
Project Purity
Okay.
for all of uh Washington DC.
Okay.
And
The Brotherhood also controlled kind of, right?
yeah.
Like they were at least the protectors of it and all that.
Well, and but that Brotherhood too was a different type of Brotherhood than the
Yeah, it was the Lions chapter,
yeah.
right? That broke off because and that was yeah. They went away from the technology hoarding and actually were trying to protect the people of the wasteland, which caused a group of them to fracture off and become the outcasts,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you got so because NCR is going to be would have to definitely be in the next season. Now we've already had some of the things, the signs of them being there. But yeah, we're gonna have Caesar's Legion. We're gonna have
Well, I don't know. That's again, that's the question, right? It's like depending on how New Vegas shook out, Caesar's Legion could be around. it would probably be being run by one of his legates, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah, it wouldn't be
Caesar was
him.
what, old and like dying of
Already
some disease
dying,
or
yeah.
something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, then it's going to be run by one of his legates if it's even still around. And that's again where I'm curious, right? Because like in the end credits, as it was pulling out from New Vegas, you saw like Mr. House's robots just kind of like slumped off to the side and everything. So it clearly seems like maybe Mr. House isn't, got taken out, or at least isn't in charge anymore, right?
Correct.
So, like I said, I'm really curious how they're going to handle Vegas and what we're going to see there. I would imagine they would put in the Legion just to have it there, but you know, who's running it, how they're running it, what's it going to look like, and do they have a relationship with the Brotherhood? I
Well,
don't
there's
know,
the
man.
boomers too. You got right. There should
Oh
still be
yeah,
around.
So
yeah,
which one was
possibly.
the group that was trying to reestablish society? So they would come in and try to create communities. I
Are you
vaguely
talking about the
remember.
Minutemen in Fallout 4?
The
Was
Minutemen.
it the Minutemen?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Minutemen.
okay.
Yeah.
So other side of the country. No,
Yeah.
the
Well, I
main
don't think we're
group.
gonna travel across the country in this. I think we're gonna
No,
stay in this one
yeah,
region.
yeah, we're gonna stay on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly fine with that, right? So yeah, the main force for community building on the West was the NCR, but
Okay.
clearly NCR has been having a better time of it than what they're looking at right now. So I'll be curious to see if, because they didn't really talk about a new headquarters for the NCR in this, right? It was just
Mm-mm.
Shady Sands was gone, and then we got to see the NCR as a small contingent guarding that reactor at the observatory.
Yep.
That was kind of it. And the fact that you had Twin Peaks run off to Vegas
To Vegas.
makes
Yep.
you almost think that, that that's not being held by the NCR. It might be getting held by somebody else. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know,
That's what
man.
I
Well,
got.
that, and it also could be the fact that like Mr. House is still alive or he didn't die. So, and he would
Yeah.
have a connection to him. So, and then with having the Robco robots and stuff like that, he thinks it might be a way to attack the Brotherhood.
Well,
Yeah.
I could see them actually going in and creating, since they've already have a character who is a living brain inside of a
That was
friggin'
so great.
little robot looking thing. Can I hold
Buzz
still so I
Buzz.
can inject you with this thing? Um, and that maybe he's alive but not in a human body. And so they do a variant. He no longer needs the suit because he's in a massive suit that's him. You know, the one thing that they never really talked about in any of the Fallout games is mankind's proclivity for trying to enhance the human form and move away from it by, adding artificial parts to us. I could see
Well,
that.
the closest thing we get to that is the synths and um people being taken and changed over to being synthetic humans and
Yeah, yeah.
or people taking the technology of the synth and then adding it to themselves. There is what's his name? Freaking the guy that we always made fun of as being Buzz Lightyear, that come to find out he was
Paladin Dance.
he was a synth. So he could technically be in this show because he did flee um
Well,
that area.
if you saved him from the Brotherhood, he did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you had to kill him.
The sad thing is we're not going to get Liberty Prime though.
That is sad.
Democracy is a right of all.
Well, and
He
then
is.
didn't Ghoul go to Las Vegas at one point in the Vegas game, or he was at least mentioned in
Well,
the
there's
game?
rumors that he may be somebody within the lore of Fallout. But we're not really sure. It's definitely not the guy that's the Vault-Tec guy from friggin' 4.
No, I don't think that.
But
No.
there's some good things that we might get out of this. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of good things because as long as they keep with what they're doing and aligning the show with the game,
Yeah, don't change your showrunners because you want a cheaper crew behind it or somebody you can control. Once you get rid of the people who seem to be doing the best job, that's when it all goes downhill.
but
Except
one
for the guy who did X-Men 97. You did a great thing of getting rid of him.
I don't know. He might have been the one trying to save the show before everything went downhill.
He was a showrunner, man. These episodes are all
Oh,
on
his?
him.
Okay, okay. Um, but I love the fact in the show that they played up on the whole thing of like, you doing your friggin' speech test, like whenever you're negotiating with somebody and you fail, oh, you fail horribly. And Lucy has that moment when she's multiple times technically, but
She
in
has it
in
multiple
the town.
times in the in
Uh,
the in the first town. Yeah.
I love the fact that like, Ghoul has the perk of like bloody mess or whatever it was
Oh yeah.
whenever he's shooting everybody and they're just exploding out of nowhere. I really was hoping that we might get like a VATS
I don't know
sound.
how you do that, man.
Well, you
I
could have got a
unless
sound. You could have got a sound.
I
You
know,
could.
but where would that come from, right? Like I was thinking to myself, I was like, how would they get away with that? And the closest thing I could think of would be if you like saw a HUD view from inside like the power armor, right? And you get that
See, that would have been
look of
perfect. That would have been perfect. Yeah.
that's about
The
the only
feedback
place I could
sound through
yeah,
Yeah.
the sound. Yeah.
The
that was about
clicking.
the only place I could think of that you might be able to get away with showing some form of VATS. But yeah, I was
I
like,
wanted I wanted a moment where like maybe she had way too much gear that she had found and she's just like, I can't move. And him going, yeah, it's because you're over encumbered. Maybe you should drop
Oh
some or
yeah.
something.
you
Yeah.
know, the best his best comment though was, where they're like, well, but our objective is that way. He's like, yeah, but you get sidetracked all the goddamn
Him
time,
time.
right?
Yes, yes.
But yes, yes, side quests, man, side
It
So
quests. I
was
love
the
like,
that.
oh, hey,
the
look, here's a substation. Let's go under here and then subway. Yeah.
the thing that
Right.
killed me was the Squires having to carry in a giant
A
bag that we
humongous
never got to
bag.
see anything that was in any of them.
Well, I mean, you got to see it had their Gatling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Gun in
it
there.
had their backup charger battery or whatever charge thing. But it was shoved into that car at that gas
Yeah.
station where
I'm
he
like,
found him. I was like, man, you're so close to finding everything that you want. Oh, God, I'm
hey,
gonna
you
go
know
get the
what? When they
dog.
make a new Fallout game and there's that rocket,
That should be
that
in the.
rocket, I'm
You
not
should
gonna,
The
go
Red Rocket
open
gas
the
station.
I want
trunk.
to go
Yeah.
over there and open that trunk. Yeah.
Um,
Uh, I'm glad they
but
had those. I'm glad that there was a lot of things I was glad just the little bitty touches of things that were there that if you played the games you knew. Um,
I knew it was going to be good the minute she put her foot in that damn boot and it had razor blades in it. I was like, oh, I'm going to like this. You know, I just wasn't sure who did it, whether she did it to herself so she wouldn't have to leave,
mhm.
or it was one of those punks that were beating up on Maximus. And then they had me thinking maybe Maximus did it for a little bit because he actually wanted that glory,
Yeah.
and when he's doubting himself, man, that was a good little turnaround for you. They kept messing with your expectations on that.
And that was one good thing about the show was just the character development, the things that like just the intrigue that kept bringing you in to what was going on, and you wanted to watch more. This was like a perfect like, and that's why I said I think the 8 episodes was perfect, just on the fact that like it was enough to just pull you in, and you wanted more after you were done. It left you with an appetite for more. But it was satisfying every way, every bite that you got.
Yeah, but here, now, what if something would happen and we never get another season? You're gonna regret it. We'll all be sitting here
Look,
regretting not
I would be
getting
we're
I would
already
be
more.
wutting in.
shocked.
Yeah, we're already
I would
Oh
wutting.
no,
honestly be
they've
shocked if
already
Amazon
they
doesn't.
have not said that they're doing it, but the people behind it and one of the groups that funded it are gearing up for promotional stuff. You
Yeah.
don't sink money into promotional stuff if you're
Well,
not gonna
and what
do a
California's trying to give them like $25 million to
so that yeah,
relocate to shooting there and all
shooting
sorts of
there,
stuff.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
look,
no.
I want a death claw really bad. I'm glad I got the skull, and
I
I
was
want
half expecting him to like step on it and like crunch it, right?
yeah.
Crunch it like in Terminator, yeah, that's what I thought at first
But
too.
it's going to be hilarious because I want a scene in the next season where like the Brotherhood of Steel are just marching through the desert, and you just hear the sound, and then just like one death claw comes in and just destroys all of them. because
I was about to say, considering the fact that one Yao Guai was able to take down that one dude, man,
dude,
I
yeah.
would be horrified at the idea
Yeah.
of facing a Deathclaw in this world.
Uh,
But okay, let's
All
close it out, and then we'll move on to the other thing before we
so
have to go because
it
it's
is
already.
definitely something you guys need to watch if you haven't. And we would love to hear your thoughts if you have. So just put them down below. Let us know. And if you want us to talk more about Fallout, I definitely would love to do that. We can do that more about the games and stuff. But anyway, so as far as topic 2, was there anything else? Actually, you know what? Is there anything you guys want to add real quick?
No, just what would be great is if we could actually watch it together and record us talking about it, as stuff is reminded. But I know we can't do that on YouTube
No,
because we'd get in trouble for it.
the fun times are gone. Anyway, David?
No, I think we covered it all.
Okay. So, to the last topic for tonight, or the other half, it won't be as long though, is what was it, David? You saw it, right? It was the
Yeah, there was
developers wanting. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you.
yeah, there was a headline. I forget. I think it was like an ex Blizzard developer or project head or something like that had come out and was making comments about how, you know, he was thinking that it would be a good thing to implement where, if you play a game, right, you get to the end of it, you beat it, whatever, and you really like it, that you should have the ability to just like kick another 10, $20, the developer's way, as just kind of like a tip or a thanks for, thanks for doing such a good job, right? Not having DLC attached or anything else like that. Just, hey, send a little extra money to the people you like, right? And it seemed like that was causing a little bit of a discussion storm over the last couple days talking about it.
So for
Go for it,
me,
Dad. Go
this
for it.
is
Go for it.
just this tip mentality, and everybody around the world pays tips. Not everybody around the world expects tips. Some of them aren't allowed to ask for tips
Or get
because
tips.
at some point you get paid for a service or a product. Yeah, and if getting that product, I have to tip you for it, then I don't want yours. Now, at the same time where David was reading that, I was reading today where a delivery driver who doesn't get what he considers 20% tips refuses to deliver food to people. And that's just like these people who, you don't tip me, I'm going to go spit in your food when I bring it out. First of all, you're being paid for a job. That is in your job description. If you are not getting paid well enough because the company is trying to save on labor costs to put in their pocket, then you either need to move on to another job or you need to unionize and force that company to pay you a living wage. I do not pay people for handing me my food through a drive-through. I'm already paying that price when I buy the food. I'm collecting a service or a food or an item or a product, and I'm paying you for it. And I should be able to expect good quality product, not something that later on you're going to go, oh, you know what, we're going to do a DLC and we're going to fix all those problems that we rushed to get that product out and charge you $70, $80 for, and it's only going to cost you an additional $50. No, that's not how things work. And we've created this monster, and it all can go trace back to fast food and restaurant workers who were not paid a living wage. So we became expected to supplement that by a tip. And then it became, okay, well, now I'm going to an all-you-can-eat place where I serve myself and somebody just brings me one glass of water and I have to chase them down to get me another, but they want a 20% tip. That is not, you should not get paid for what you were hired to do. It's like I talked to you today. Everybody's a hero now. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're a fireman, your job description means running into burning buildings and trying to save people and put out fires. You're not a hero for doing your job. It's that extra stuff. It's putting your life on the line when nobody's around or when you're off duty. Those are the things we recognize. Heroes If everybody's a hero, nobody's a hero. Just like that's one of the best lines out of anything I've ever heard, which was The Incredibles, because it's the truth. We now give labels to things that used to you had to earn, and now we don't. They don't. You just, oh, it's your job, man. You are a hero. Okay, you're a hero. Soldiers know what their job is. That is their job. That's what they're hired. That's what they're paid for. They know that there's a chance they're going to go into a war zone and be injured and hurt. It is the government's responsibility. And the reason we pay taxes is to take care of these people after they come home and if they're hurt. But no, the government doesn't. The government shortchanges VA all the time. And you know what? We end up with thousands of commercials on television talking about how if you donate this, we can help these wounded veterans. And then half that, 75% of those donations don't even go to the donations. It's a whole niche business model where they're ripping off people who are trying to help soldiers who are having difficult times in their life because they did their duty as a soldier, So when you ask for a tip, you need to earn it. A tip is not freely given. We're already being surcharged feed and everything else. Say you order something from a restaurant. If they find out that you want a delivery, there's automatically a surcharge attached. Then there's a fee. Then there's the delivery fee. Then you have to tip the driver. And so by the time you're done, what you've paid for costs you more to get it to you than the very product that you purchased. Okay?
Might as well go
There's
to a
a
restaurant.
problem. I might as well go to the store and buy it and cook it myself. That would put them out of business really quickly. It happens at grocery stores now. It happens at restaurants. It's happening. I was somewhere the other day and I got something and it was $5 and all the person did was hand it to me. It was some kind of drink. And I watched them make it. It was like, and they wanted a 20% tip. That was when they handed it to me to run my card, it immediately was preset to 20%. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'll pay you $2 for that, and that's higher than, because $5, 25, 250 would be a 20% tip. I'm gonna give you $2. That's even more than what I should be paying you. That 10% at best, we have a problem in society today where everything is flipped on its heels. Companies who used to be as part of their business model looked at their labor costs and production costs and everything else, and then created their pricing based on that so that they would cover that and still make a profit. Now they pass all that on to the consumer and all that goes into their pockets. And that's why they make, $1 trillion profits every year, because they're not passing it on to their customer. They're keeping it. And that's a problem. Nobody should pay for something that is an inferior product. And I've already talked to you about this, these pay for play games that they design a game that you get online and you're playing it. And it is designed to make you fail so that you will purchase products within the game to keep playing. You know what? They could just sell a service, make the money on a monthly basis, and give everybody in the game a chance. I don't like playing a game where somebody's plopping down $50 a month to get extra cash and extra whatever to buy everything, and he comes in and trashes me every 5 minutes because he's paying that and I'm not. I get rid of them. As soon as that starts being a problem, I delete it off my phone. And that's why we're seeing them more and more having to relaunch new games. There's a flood of games all the time coming out that are the exact same thing with just different skins on it. And as soon as customers figure out what's going on, they dump it. So create a product, make it playable, make it enjoyable. And then if it is, the next time you release it, they'll pay for it. But if you're going to try to gouge them for every little thing, then I'm going to move on to somebody who doesn't. I just don't agree with it. I do believe that we should tip people. for doing and giving us great service, going out of their way to help, or being, being helpful and doing certain things. But I come from a generation where you did things not because you expected it, but because it was the right thing to do. And the minute you start telling me it's expected, then I have to question, what your motives are. And I'm done. I'll say it because I've talked about this 3 times today, and I'm done.
So so all I just heard was, if so video game developers, if you put out a game that's not a buggy pile of crap, this man here will kick you an extra $20. Like it's fine. Just because you are a hero then, because God knows
No, that is
every
not
game
what
that
I
comes,
said.
like just give me a full single player experience. God award
I
that
said that I
God award
may,
that looking at,
I
this
said
man
I
apparently
may
owes y'all a
pay,
little extra money because
I may buy
y'all being
your
able to put
next
out
game.
because y'all being able to put out like a solid, single player experience that doesn't require a bunch of extra stuff to it. Yeah, this guy owes you money, it seems like, because y'all are heroes. Y'all are heroes out there
They're not heroes.
doing the Lord's
No.
work, man, putting out quality. Bethesda's never gonna make it because all their stuff is buggy piles of crap. Which, you know what, as just to roll back to Fallout for a second, I'm amazed that they weren't able to somehow squeeze in,
Some kind of
in
glitch.
season two, I need glitches. I need glitches somewhere just to
Yeah.
really make the experience true, right?
I want her to
But
get
no,
her foot stuck in the geometry.
that's
She's
right.
trying to
Yeah,
climb a
we
mountain.
need to see the ghoul walking along and then all of a sudden
And now
just
all of a sudden he
fall through the
disappears
ground.
through the
Yeah, he
ground.
falls
Yeah.
to the ground. Yeah.
And then he's looking up at the bottom of the world, the pixelation.
That's right.
Or he's
That's
falling.
Right. Yeah. That's what
No,
we
I
need.
mean, just being honest, we used to get good games. Now
No,
we don't.
we do sometimes. The thing is that,
Sometimes.
look, honestly, it's okay to tip for certain things, but for a product like a video game or a movie, that's I think I draw the line on that because you're already supposed to be putting out a finished product, not this half-baked, oh, the investors wanted us to put this out early because the hype's so big, we want to get that money real quickly. But then after that it dies because the game isn't great, you know. But it's so idiotic to sit there and go, "Oh yeah, let's give me a tip if you like the game." Why? If I like the game, I may buy the game again and go give it to a friend, you know? There you go. There's your extra
Or
60.
word of mouth. I'll go and brag about it and
Yeah.
convince 10 people to buy your game. Okay, pay me for that. I did your advertising. Where's my advertising budget?
Yeah, you know, because they're definitely not paying YouTubers that stream their games at all. Like, where's my tip? I don't ask for one, but it was like, where's my thing? You know, uh, it's free advertisement. But the problem is, honestly, is that we're dealing with a situation where development costs are getting too large, so they're trying to get extra money. So what do? They've been doing the whole thing of like going to these third party investment firms that you have to go and talk to, and we'll help you change whatever's going on in your game to be more politically correct or diverse or woke or whatever, and we'll give you money. But then it's like, oh yeah, okay, the devil, I will take your deal to make me famous. Then he's gonna hamstring me all the way through my process to get famous, and then he just gets my soul faster.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. Why do you think development costs are getting more expensive? Technology has improved greatly,
Oh yeah.
and they're pumping out games faster. So it is not about technology becoming more expensive. It's getting product out in a quicker fashion to customers. They don't have any patience for developing anything anymore. Remember when we used to have to wait 4 or 5 years for a game to come out, and they would build up that anticipation. We would, be reading magazine after magazine. We'd be all be talking about it. And then when it came out, they'd make a ton of money in those first few months off of it.
Mm.
And if that product wasn't good, They suffered because their sales went down. This is
I mean,
about
look, I've been getting edged by Bethesda for Elder Scrolls 6 for what feels like a decade now. So, I mean, some studios take their sweet time and it doesn't make a damn bit of difference.
Grand Theft Auto 6. Talking about you, Rockstar.
Well, except Rockstar at the end of the day will actually put out like an honest to God
Oh yeah,
quality product, right?
product
Like
exactly.
it'll be a real banger when it finally comes
Yeah.
out. But I mean,
I'll be close to 60 by the time Red Dead Redemption 3 comes out, you know.
yeah, I mean, it is something that it kind of makes you wonder, right? Like
I'll
with
be
all,
dead. You'll have to let me play it from the grave.
Yeah, Dad, I'm gonna
There
do
you
a
go.
seance, and then just hopefully that I get you through the random chat that is the
No.
summoning the
Just build
souls from
me
the dead.
build me that robot or computer thing that you promised to download my consciousness into, and just let me play the game from the inside out.
No, I'm gonna build. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build a use ChatGPT to build you your persona ID of who you are and stuff, and then you'll just have to live vicariously through your AI version of yourself.
Just give me the tick that tick like what's his name from the 80s. Um,
But no, I mean it's David's right. The thing is that like some studios take the time because I mean we're at this point now where like there's rumors that what part 3 of Final Fantasy 7 will be sooner than it took between remake and rebirth. So, and that's because they already have the assets, you know, they already
Yeah.
have the things. And that was sometimes like a lot of these companies already have the engines already designed. You just throw in the textures and the designs for whatever, and there you go. You got part of your game. It doesn't take a long time to write a scenario and you know characters and stuff like that. But
I mean, yeah, I don't know what all goes into it, right? Without having a working knowledge of exactly what that process is and looks like, right? It's a big black box in front of me, right? That's
mm,
just covered in Greek, right? Is all that I see. But you know, I just the fact that so many of them come out half baked, right? Day one patches, and I mean like what the big another big sticking point that's come out the last couple days was the fact that that new Star Wars game has day one DLC, right? So it's not even a day one patch. It's the season pass. If you get it, you will have access to a mission that is available to you the day it comes out, but it's only available to you if you bought the season pass. So they developed it, they have it, it's there, it's playable, but it's paywalled. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know how we got into that point, right? Where not only it's not anymore where it's like okay, we're getting a half finished product, and you're gonna get the ending, you know, half later on whenever we finally finish doing it. It's like no, now we're actually we have finally hit the zenith of this, right? Next thing, it's gonna every game is gonna come out exactly like Street Fighter V, where it's basically gonna be the demo version that you're gonna pay full price for, and then they're gonna drip feed you the rest of the game, right?
Yep.
As it goes along. It's like it's wild that we've hit this point, and I don't know how much of it is just, you know, these corporate types come stepping in and screwing with the development process, if it's people going along and realizing that whatever idea they had isn't going to work and then having to reworkshop the whole thing.
Yeah,
But
back
you know,
out.
somebody's still paying the bill, so they got to still be coming up with budget and all the rest of that. It's like I
Well,
don't
I
know,
kind
man,
of
but
I
it's getting untenable. I mean, this past year has been one of the worst years for game companies, right? Layoffs have been crazy across the board. There's been, and I think they just announced some other company is going to be letting go of like another 900 people
people, yeah.
coming up. It's crazy, and it's cost, it's time, it's you know, whenever some of this stuff does come out, it's not up to standard. I mean, the terrifying thing is you have like Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is like, yeah, Hogwarts sold like, you know, sold like hotcakes. Suicide Squad sold like dog shit, but we're gonna focus more on live service games because that's where the money's at, which is a wild thought, right? And what's even crazier, so thinking again to Fallout, they break their games sometimes after the fact. So like Bethesda's been promising this next gen update for Fallout 4 forever.
For a while
Well,
now.
after watching the show, I went to go try and fire up Fallout 4. It's unplayable if you install the Automaton DLC. If you install the Automaton DLC for the PlayStation, I don't know about PC, but I tried it on my PS4 and the PS5. If you install Fallout 4 right now at, what is this? April 16th when we're recording this. If you go try and fire it up and install it, and you install just the Automaton DLC, you can install everything else and it's fine. But if you put that Automaton one in, you will get to the title screen and it will error out and throw you out.
Well,
It's
Rock Show.
What'd y'all do? You had a fully functioning and
Rockstar,
working
can't
game,
remember.
and now you're going in and trying to give us this new updated patch, but now you've broken it again. Like, how did you not test that out? And why is there not a hot fix out? And that's the other thing. It's like post game development is if you're actively breaking your games like this, like what are y'all doing, man? What is going on? So yeah, if games came out and were perfect right from the get go, would I be willing to throw them a little extra change as a thanks? I don't know. I don't think so. Right? That seems a little ridiculous. It seems a little like that's pushing into a realm that I don't want to get to, right? Like they just need either they need to come down and we need to start seeing games that are more moderately budgeted, right? Kind of like what we're seeing with movies, right? Movies have gone from the big blockbuster stuff
Mhm.
to now studios are starting to focus, hey, maybe more mid-budget stuff is what we need to be aiming for because that's where the market's at right now.
Mhm.
And
Well, it
No,
usually takes something like Godzilla, some kind of tent pole that makes a buku amount of money that costs $20 million or whatever Godzilla costs. It was ungodly. I mean, when you compare it to what Godzilla King of Monsters and Godzilla X Con cost. And it shows you can do a good movie at lower price and then increase your profit
but
margin.
but
You
you
can't
get
increase a
into
profit margin when you got to pay an actor $20 million before you even film a piece
Yeah.
of it to be in the movie.
Well, I mean, now we're getting into, the
Crowdfunding.
discussions from like the 90s, right? Of well, how, you're paying Americans this incredibly inflated wage where you can outsource it to other countries for, pennies on the dollar to make it so much cheaper and all the rest of that. So, yeah, the Godzilla minus one was made for a lot cheaper, but it was also entirely over in Japan, right? And they're also kind of known for overworking their people, right?
That's true.
So how much of it was people being, overworked and underpaid, right?
Well,
Or
and
that's
then
more
how
of a
much
thing that
is
we
it?
know about. I don't know if that was the case. Minus one could have been completely above board and everybody loved working on it and everybody got paid buku bucks for it and it was great. But I mean, that's kind of what you start running into is you run into this question of, you know, uh, people arguing for livable wage stuff, which you should be able to live on the wage that you're earning, but that depending on where that is, that's going to inflate
Well,
costs, right? Just
where does
because of
it
that.
end? Everything
I
is just
know.
escalating upwards, and there's
Yeah.
no. And so, why
I
do
mean,
we have to keep
all the
relearning lessons that generate hundreds of generations? That's not correct, but previous generations have learned all along, and
yeah.
we've got to do it better. And then when it burns us,
Well, the
they
funny
never
thing
admit
is,
that it's their new idea that was the problem instead of
Mhm.
going back to what worked.
well, and the funny thing is you got these other places, right, that have been getting these jobs over the years. Their standards of living are coming up. What happens when their standard of living gets to be equivalent, and now we're equal across the board in terms of pay? Like, where are you going to go to shelter to drop those costs then, right? And
Well, that's been
so,
around for, yeah, okay. Offshoring has always been chasing the cheap dollar, and
yeah.
I've watched it by working through several corporations. And the minute that place where you've just offshored to
Once they start
not
asking for
cost of
raises,
living,
it's
what's
like, oh man,
once their lifestyle comes up because they're making a little bit better
yeah.
wages that comes up, Then it reaches a point where, oh, like, we're not making as many profits as we were. We need to move somewhere else. Eventually, it was believed that's what globalization was for, to keep raising the well, you
Standard of
just said it.
living.
The what is it?
Standard of living.
Standards of living, because that is escaping me. Standards of living around the world to a point where it's equal. But it's never going to happen because companies like here in Texas will cut their citizens' throats to bring in a corporation by giving them everything. And then it takes them 10 years to pay that off, and then they move out of the state.
Yeah.
You got to quit giving companies everything they want.
Mhm.
It has to be a mutual agreement. There's got to be a give and take. And they promise, oh, we're going to bring in tens of thousands of jobs. And then when you go back and look, and we were lucky to get 150 permanent jobs out of it. No,
And that's where like the discussion that we were having on this earlier today, right, is kind of prep for this, is kind of where, where the market has gone to over the years, and it both kind of works for some people and doesn't, is like, the Patreon models, or maybe even like the crowdfunding stuff, right, where, these indie creators and developers have been able to essentially get tips, right? Constant, consistent monthly tips from people so that they can go out and develop and create things that people want, right? And as long as that is a model that can, that, but again, that goes back to being more of mid-level development type stuff, right? Mid to lower development type is where you can see more. It feels like you see more bang for your buck, and they're not constantly begging you for greater and greater sums for a lesser and lesser return, right? Like you can actually see where your money's going to. Like the Turbo Kid game just came out, and I kickstarted that, and man, it's a lot of fun. So it was like, you know, it goes to that question of the smaller guy versus the bigger guy, and at what point do you finally say, okay, I'm done with these bigger companies until they can figure out how to get their stuff straight. And in the meantime, I'll go and I'll support the smaller guy
smaller
and
guy,
try and
mom and
bring them
pop.
up, right?
Well, like even with what was it? A lot of the guys that left Konami at the time and that worked on Suikoden, the series, and they just had their game that I kickstarted. I backed on when it was up. I started playing it a little bit yesterday before I passed out, and fantastic. It takes me back to playing those games, and that may need to be the direction sometimes they need to go, is like, just if you got a passion project that you know is not gonna maybe go through the investors, or the studio just doesn't want to do, you may just have to do a Kickstarter for something.
What killed me about Kickstarter was there to fund people who had great ideas and products and things like that that you could not get funding through the normal channels. Okay. And then they became very successful. And then these companies that have the money to back the products they're selling, creating,
Mhm.
were like, you know what? We don't have to do this. We'll just go on there and we'll have them pay for it. It's kind of like a person who is a billionaire going on and creating a GoFundMe to help pay his bills. There's no sense in it. You kind of defeat the purpose of what that was there for. Patreon is a little bit different. You're actually providing a service and they're paying for the service. If you are a YouTube podcaster or whatever and you're monetized, then you can have um, these live events where people will pay you money to talk with you live on the program. You're actually giving them something right then and there for what they're paying. That's not what happens with crowdfunding. Sometimes you spend a lot of money and then it fails and then those people disappear and you
Well,
don't get your money back.
and that's the difference between like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and like GameFound and some of these other groups, right? Where Kickstarter takes your money and keeps it, and these others basically say, yeah, if it doesn't go through or fails, right? Sometimes you can get refunds off of them, or there's other ways of kind of dealing with it. And I guess Kickstarter's kind of gotten better about refunding people for
They have, but
projects that fail. But yeah, I mean, it's always a
it's
risk,
only
right?
as good as being able to get the money from the original people who were funded.
Yeah, but I
It's
mean,
not like
but
they
it's
hold
like any
that.
investment, right? I mean, that's the idea of it is it's they see it as it's you're investing, and sometimes these investments go bad, unfortunately, and that sucks. So you just need to. That's where knowing the creator, right, or at least having some kind of history, and that's not always a guarantee, but nothing is a guarantee when it comes to investment, right? So that's where you shoot your shot, and hopefully it doesn't, you didn't spend $500 to get that little mouse pad with the busty anime girl right on it, and it
That
doesn't
you
come
can
through to you, and
relax your hand on.
that's right, yeah, man.
Yeah, it's
It's
the
hey, it's very
ergonomic is the
yes,
Yeah.
ergonomic mouse pad.
ergonomic
Remember
mouse,
that.
right? Yeah. And you spent $500 to get that, and then that thing never shows up in the mail. And I know it's heartbreaking, but you know, sometimes them's the breaks, right?
And the fact that game systems are so expensive now, and if you're buying a brand new game system to play the latest, most expensive game out there, and then you get it, and then the game isn't what you imagined it would be, or it's got a paywall or whatever, and you just shelled out a bunch of money to get the game, it means you may not even be able to play that game for a while. You just wasted that money. It's like I liken it to like when we used to have warranties, they were good for 2 years. It was 5 years, 2 years, and then it got to 1 year. And then after they dropped down to like guaranteed for 3 months, you know that product is a piece of junk, and it's not gonna
I mean,
last the
everybody
wear and
knows.
tear that you put on it.
Yeah, because everybody knows those warranties, right? They've got scientists, they've done studies. They know exactly when the components and that are going to fail, and it's exactly 1 day after your warranty expires, right?
Yeah, it's usually as soon as you walk out of the store and you've got to sit down in your car and you put it in the seat next to you, that warranty goes off.
That's right.
And God forbid that you know a little bit about technology, so you open it up yourself to see if you can fix it. Oh, you voided that warranty.
Yeah.
I just opened up the case.
I don't know
Didn't touch anything.
how many times I fixed what PS2s and Xboxes and stuff, and I got them to work, but it's like, yeah,
Now,
unfortunately,
that warranty is gone.
your warranty's gone.
You know, some of it's they're cheaper, they're easier to buy. They're not as expensive, and so if it breaks, I'll just come back in and buy another one. But some things are still pretty expensive.
Yeah, I think the warranty is officially completely out on my PS4s because I mean even before that, but I especially I have a Pro that's downstairs that I use mostly, and then I've got one upstairs here that is the older model, and I need to crack that thing open because one of the kids fired it up the other day, and I swear there was a plane landing in my house somewhere. So I need to get in there and clean the fans out on that thing because it is blowing. Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just there's a lot of things that are going on within this day and age that is really bad for the consumer, but perfect for the executives that make those triple, quadruple six figure income. Man, I can't even talk right now. Sorry.
What bothers me is that we have almost zero competition anymore. Almost the majority of the companies are owned by four, major parent companies, and everything stems down from there. So there is no real competition like we used to have, and they always refer to, oh yeah, support mom and pop shops, but half of those mom and pop shops,
See? I'm not the only one doing it.
Wow, are
Shops.
franchises, and the money still goes to one big corporation. We need a little bit of monopoly busting to go on. We need some companies to no longer be too big to fail, and we need real competition.
Look, at this point, I'm honestly just I'm waiting for once the corporations have finally taken complete and utter control. I'm waiting for the Native Americans to go out and summon magic back into the world, so we can just go ahead and start Shadowrun, right?
Yes, thank you.
Like,
Yeah, okay.
just bring back the
Yeah.
Shadowrun world, right? And let's get this started where dragons are running corporations, and like, we all are chipped up and going into cyberspace, but we can also cast magic spells and all the rest of that good stuff, right? Let's just get to it. Okay. I don't know what kind of, ritual they have to go out there and perform and, the desert to get this thing going, but let's do it, right? Let's
Oh,
just
they're working on it.
let's
You
get
need to
this
watch
let's get this train
Skinwalker.
going. Well, they need to put
That
some pep in
if
their
that's
step,
really
man.
a
Do I need to
portal,
hold
I
on?
can't
Do I
wait.
need to send them tips? Is that what they're waiting on? Do I need to tip them and then we can, like,
Yeah,
move
we can
this
start
along
this
a little faster?
process. Yeah,
We just
yeah.
jumpstart it, right? Where is that? Where's that GoFundMe? Come on, guys. Like, just point me in the right direction.
Just put
Let's
me
get
on
it
the show.
started.
Just put us on the show. We know what to do.
It's
I'm
like
not-
there's
I'm
this
not
portal.
scared.
There's this portal up there, right? We know how high it is. Just give me a rocket, strap me to it, and I'll go up and give me a radio and I'll try to broadcast as long as I can. At least if I go up and I disappear through the hole, yeah, it's going somewhere.
No.
I mean,
What
my
you
luck.
do is you halo jump out with a parachute and then come through the portal, with your parachute.
That would suck, man. Just think about that. You go up through the portal, right? And you disappear, and all of a sudden you pop out over Bermuda Triangle out in the middle of the ocean and just plummet to the water below, and you're like, no one will ever know.
Not what I
mean-
expected.
I mean, as long as you're not up there signing your name in the Book of Azathoth, you should be all right.
I don't know if I want to be chipped, though. I mean, I can't get my GPS to work right all the time. I don't think I want to be hooked into an internet.
But
Yeah.
I literally think my car is trying to kill me sometimes. Turn right. Wait, that's a bridge. I can't turn right. Turn right. No. Hush. Be quiet.
It's funny. So we had to replace one of our vehicles, and the one that we got has got some extra features to it. And one of them is it will apply the brakes for you if the person in front of you is braking a little too hard. And it has scared the ever-loving shit out of the wife a couple times. We're just driving along, and the person in front of them is slowing to turn, and she's slowing behind them just like she always does. And
David,
then all of a sudden, the car just goes, "Ooh!" I mean, just like slams on those brakes. It's like that thing's gonna get us in a wreck one of these days if it's not careful. So
Yep. And it'll probably
Yeah.
be from somebody behind you who doesn't have one of those cars.
yeah,
And you slam on your brake and hello.
good times.
Yeah.
Nothing like a little shock to the system to wake you up a little bit extra. right?
So what do you think
It'd be a lot
about
of fun.
giving tips to the car manufacturers you bought your car from,
Hell no. Well, I got to admit,
I-
I'd give Toyota a tip. My truck has survived hell, and I've had it a long. It's a 2008. That sucker is still kicking.
Man, can it just be like can they just get part of what I pay in for insurance? Like, can the insurance companies just kind of do a little kicker over to them for them doing such a good job that the insurance companies aren't having to pay out on that, because insurance is absolutely ridiculous.
Well,
Come on.
you realize there was an administration who was forcing insurances in both health and other to kick back money to the people who they have a policy through if they didn't have to pay as much, so it wasn't impacting the company. And boy, you can tell oh, come on, I hate when I'm on here. My brain always goes to mush. The ones who go before Congress and try to get certain laws passed.
Wow, the lobbyists.
Lobbyists, yeah.
There we go.
The lobbyists came out and were fully funded to make sure that didn't happen.
Mhm.
So money makes the world go round.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. It
It
just
does.
doesn't flow into our pockets to make us go
Well,
around.
it does. Like, it flows into the pocket, but the problem is there's this giant hole in my pocket that's called mortgage, insurance, taxes, and kids, right? Like, in that hole, as the money goes in and I go reaching in to go pull money back out, all the money's gone, and I'm like, where did my money go, guys?
Don't ever look in your pocket, man. You're going to see 1,000 hands. It's going to look like Hondo's. What was it?
No,
7,000 hand
it's gonna
slap.
it's gonna look like friggin' from Full Metal Alchemist, whenever all the hands are coming
Oh
out, the
yeah,
black
come
ones.
out and start
Yeah,
grabbing
that's would
all
be
of them.
exactly what it looks
And
like.
and that's what it does too, right? Like that's my wallet. My wallet is the Elrics, and I'm just watching as chunks of it are being just disintegrated off of it as the hands are grabbing hold of it. It's horrible. And it's not equivalent exchange, right? Like that's the other
No.
problem.
No,
If
it's
it was
not.
if it was equivalent exchange, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can kind of understand this, but it's not. And that breaks my heart. It's like, guys, come on. This is ridiculous. Can we do something about this? Like what's going on here?
So, final thoughts. I think it's a bad idea to be tipping video game developers or any kind of like even film or comic. If they're not providing some form of entertainment that you're not having to buy, then no,
It's setting a bad precedence
it is.
that always comes back to bite us in the behind.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the only time I think that it's even semi-warranted is like what we already kind of have established, like what we talked about through like Patreon and stuff like that, where you are paying a specific person or creator or group or whatever very directly that usually are already pretty established in terms of the content that they're generating,
Mhm.
so that you are encouraging them to create more and better content
Correct.
of that types, right? So again, that targeting of that kind of mid-market area and being able to try and grow that more is about the only place I can see it as being truly and honestly beneficial, because when it comes to the big AAA studio level, you're just throwing you're just throwing your money in a black hole, right? Is
Mhm.
all you're doing. And that black hole is just going to get bigger as
Mhm.
it goes along. And that's all that's going to happen, to the point where, like what you were talking about, whenever you go to a store and they turn around the little screen, right, for you to pay, it doesn't matter what store you're in or what kind of place it's always that little 5, 10, 15 or other, right? Hey, do you want a tip? I'm at the gas station. Literally all I did was turn your gas on and allow you to put 20 bucks in it. Now do you want to give us extra money for it? It's like, you're going to fire up your game. You're going to win. The credits are going to scroll. And at the end of it, we're going to see that same stupid screen.
You can say this same
5,
screen.
10, 15%. Hey, you finished the game. It was great, right?
No, but
Here's a little
remember,
kickback for us.
it's going to say congratulations because it's not going to be able to spell congratulations right. And
That's right. It's going to be programmed wrong. They're going to,
Yeah.
and they're going to be like, hey, do you want the hot fix to get the text of this fixed so it doesn't drive you crazy? Well, guess what?
I'm
Here's
sorry.
that screen again,
you,
5,
you,
10, 15%,
you keep hitting other, right?
right?
And as you go to check out, it keeps putting it back on 20 or 30%.
Hey, come
No,
on.
other.
no, no,
Right.
no.
Nope.
Not even
No,
other, right? It's just
other.
like
Oh,
cancel,
that's a
cancel.
feature.
That's when you
Yeah,
turn
it's
the
a feature,
system
not a
off,
bug.
or you go take it to the GameStop or whatever game company that's out there and say, "Hey, this game's defective. It's asking for tips. I don't understand. I think it's broken." And then
Okay.
hopefully you'll get your money back.
Hopefully.
Then they'll look at you and go, I got a tip for you. You shouldn't have bought that game. But
There you go.
I wonder how many people I've made mad this time.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode and our love for Fallout, the TV show and the series, and our thoughts on developers getting tips for video games. Sounds so bizarre, but you know what? Let us know down below what you thought of the show, what you thought about this topic here. And if you have suggestions on what we want to talk about for next episode, pop them down below and we'll read them and decide. But in the meantime, everyone have a wonderful week and we'll catch you later.